My drummers are fantastic. A little too fantastic. Sometimes I'm afraid. Sometimes the dancers are afraid because when the drummers take the stage, the dancers say, well, maybe we shouldn't better go back on the stage. Because they are really very, very good, you know? They don't beat up the drum. They think of the drum as a musical instrument and they play the drum. And I have added the word orchestra to them. Then I have my daughter who assists me. Then I have a team. My associate artistic director is now Kareem McLean. I have a dance captain, Orville. And over the years, I've had many different people, you know. And I have a rehearsal director, Samantha Daly, and an admin assistant, Kimani, and company manager, Antoinette. We have set it up. But it's all a trick, you know. It's my trick. I want it set up so I can go away. If it's set up in a way, if I leave this earth, it's supposed to flow. It's supposed to be, okay, Antoinette is gone. Let's dance for her funeral and let's perform tomorrow. That's what
succession planning.
That's I'm planning it. I don't know if they realize it, but I'm planning it. Let me tell you, Cuba for me is CADCO went to Cuba and we were on our way to Mexico and we didn't have any way to reach Mexico for the Cervantino Festival. And I went to a man who was very kind to CADCO, Mr. Manley. Anytime Mr. Manley was very kind to us. Recently, Mr. Patterson, I went to him and said, Mr. Patterson, I need your help. You need to be Mr. Manley for me. I need to reach Japan. And he was also very helpful. I have to be grateful to everybody that I do. And you know, Glenn Ewart Manley, over the years, very helpful. I've had many people who have supported us over the years, you know, Carlisle Hudson. And the names are long, and if I forget anybody, but they've all been kind. So we're going to Mexico, and we accidentally, and we have to land in Cuba to go on a Cuban plane. Because that's how we're going to reach Mexico, you know. And we ended up performing for Castro. I didn't know he was in the room. I noticed that there was a hush and a silence in the theater, and I was nervous because I said to myself, why are people so quiet? And they have a set of people in Cuba that I love when dancers go to Cuba to study, because there is a degree in Cuba that is focused on theorizing dance. And they had these people in the theater that what they do is theorize dance. And they called me into a room with Joseph Manley as my translator. And I was so frightened, I started to cry. I said, what did I do wrong? And they looked at me and they said, that is not Graham, that is not Horton, that is not classical ballet. What is this movement structure you're doing in a piece called Sata, which I'm famous for? And when I said to them, it is Lantic. It's the first time I got a chance to teach people outside of Jamaica my technique. They immediately asked me to teach a Cuban company the technique. And it was the first time I was getting respect. In Cuba, Cuba is known for not having any money. But let me tell you, one of my dancers who is passed now, who is my darling, Howard Daly, did a solo piece choreographed by him, and they threw roses onto the stage for him. When you're a dancer and you're a performer in Cuba, it's like you're gods and goddesses. I remember going to the airport crying because their respect for the arts is, and I think it's because they have developed something that they'll be doing building a hotel, and they will put up a stage in the middle and bring the ballerinas to perform for the people who building. So, and when they put on big performances in Cuba, everybody go for free. So the little everyday Cuban have a respect and an understanding of the arts because they feed. And in every province, there's a school like Edna Manley. So you have an Edna Manley in Kingston, there'll be one in every parish. This is Africa. In Africa, and have a child don't necessarily mean to go and give birth to a child, you know. You can adopt. You can say that my niece is my child. And that child you buy gifts for, you buy school book for, that is your child. You understand? But the Africans say, who is going to acknowledge you? How can you be an ancestor if no one is there to pray for you? Because when the Africans pray and pour libation, they call their ancestors' name. So you call your grandmother name. Because in Africa, when a person dies, you don't forget them. You remember them, and the Chinese do it too. I have to say that, because you saw the Eurocentric people, if you say African doing this, it's bad, We have to make you know. And let me tell you, Jewish people do it too. Jewish people, there was a Jewish man on the front page of Time magazine one time doing a ritual, with a chicken, So people feel it's only African do these things. Jewish people do it too. And because I have to say that, because once you're in Jamaica and you say Africans do it, that means it don't have no validity. So we have to remember our ancestors. And so who's going to remember you? And it's going to be your children who remember you. So having children, there are some women who don't come in this world to bear children, and they make very good mothers. Nobody should judge a person. And there are some people who decide, I don't want to have a child. The woman has that right. But that doesn't mean she has the right to be selfish and not help out somebody. I keep saying, everybody in this country adopted one child who is in need and send them to school, this country will be a change. One picnic, Just adopt one child. Make sure them learn to read and write. Give them lunch money. Do something for them. All of this adoption of dog and adoption of this, we need to adopt our children. And let me tell you, my daughter don't want any pets because I used to have a zoo, Don't be misunderstand. I used to have 5 dogs, I have turtle, I have fish, I have bird, I have everything. So I believe in the universe. But our children need help now. Our children need help. So I feel the first lady of this country should go around, like one time the first lady, they said 2 is better than too many, remember that? Our first lady was Mitzi Siaga, who did a thing called 2 is better than too many. I will never forget that. I was a little girl remembering 2 is better than too many. So right now I think we need to just adopt a child, man.
When she got here, she already had the Atlantic. Now looking at where it's at, you would have to say that she had it in embryo. Because it has grown, it has evolved, but the elements of it were always there. And the piece that made it most manifest was Sata. So there were elements about what the hands did. The fact that you lifted your toes off the floor so that you had to get balance. Your core had to be strong to support you. So it's not as though you were gripping the floor to balance. You really had to hold it in. And the sort of Egyptian feel to it, that kind of element, that was always there, and it has grown.
A lot of people really do say my ideas, not necessarily mad, but quite different from most people's ideas. And when I tell you my process, it's going to be really funny. I'm going to tell the truth, I listen to the whispers of God. I can look at you, I listen to the whispers of ancestors. I honestly don't know what I'm going to choreograph. I go into the studio, and I stand up in the middle of the studio and I pray. And sometimes I have a piece called Chat About Them. That I knew it came to me that we don't honor all of these black people who have invented things, who invented the iron, who invented this, lots of black people who are forgotten. And I find that some people don't read. So if you don't read, I might as well give it to you in movement. Hi, that I'm restaging. I had a friend from Alpha Academy. I went to New York to go to college, and the first day of school, she said to me, follow me to the bathroom. She sat on the toilet seat, took something out of her hand, tightened her hand, and every part of what she needed was on her body, and then she injected herself with the drug in the toilet at this school. And then offered me some. And I was a state of shock. It took me 10, 15 years later to choreograph high. It's not the next morning I choreograph high. It took me, that one influence was in my brain bottom, that I couldn't help myself.
One of the things that Lantoinette did religiously was to hone and develop what talent you had. Candidly, I had a lot of strength in administration. So I was like the first dance captain because I had a voice, or I would voice and get things going that way. So I grew on that kind of level. But whatever your strength was, she would build on that. dancers have, they do us justice with every performance, thinking of where we came from as the founding members. They are almost flawless in their technique. I mean, she has gotten them to take to the stage fearlessly. The legs will go higher. The releves are sustained longer. The contractions are even deeper, if you can imagine, because what she would do she would come around, and if she wasn't satisfied with the depth of your contraction, she would deepen it for you.
You find yourself here like that. You find your good, your strengths and your weaknesses. You don't have to dwell on what you're not good at. There's always something that you will be good at, and she will play it up. What else is special? Lantoinette is special about La CADCO. Everybody knows she's a character. Dynamic. Never know what to expect from her. As she says, she dreams everything, comes to the studio, gives us something, and we're looking at her like, come again? But it works. In the long run, it goes on stage and people love it.
She loves Jamaica and everything that Jamaica holds. But she's also an international being, you know. Yes, of course, she's crazy, but she's crazy in such an incredible way, because she will sleep at night, have a dream, and when she wakes up the next morning, that dream unfolds in choreography, and you think, oh, where did that come from? And when you are privileged to be one of the people, when you are her paint, and you are being spread on her canvas, which is a stage, you're a part of something beautiful, you're a part of something that is going to move people. And what can be nicer than moving somebody? Either because they identify or they are taken somewhere they didn't know they could go, introducing something new to them, to embrace something that they're completely confronted by and have no tolerance for. But the point is, you had an impact.
Please like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and share.